The final volume of My Hero Academia has arrived, and along with it, we have an extra chapter. This, my friends, is the true final chapter of My Hero Academia. Uraraka found herself in the midst of an empty meadow. A lone tree stood in the distance as oversized clouds served as the backdrop to two flocks of birds. The zero-gravity hero watched them fly past her. These birds are sparrows, a type of bird the toga deeply associated with her childhood. When her quirk first manifested, she drank the blood of a dead sparrow and presented it to her disapproving parents. Uraraka shook her head and wondered where she was. She still has work papers to organize. But what she saw when she opened her eyes made her pause. In front of her stood Himiko Toga, as feathers passed them by. Uraraka was struck by a pang of recognition. Toga's face was partially obscured, perhaps due to the passage of time. She greeted Uraraka as the vision blurred. Then Uraraka woke up in her office, realizing that it was yet another dream. She has bits of her hero costume scattered around, along with containment units for backups. In the morning, Uraraka greeted her three guests, delighted by the fact that they were all able to make it on the same day. She was sure that they'd be a big hit. UA's former Big Three arrived on the scene. Lemillion questioned if the kids would even care about someone like him. Nejire questioned how he could ever think they wouldn't. Sun Eater felt honored to be helping out with Uravity's quirk counseling initiative. The comedian hero and current #1 hero praised the hot streak Ryukyu's agency is on right now. The Wonder hero and current #7 hero mentioned that they're already training new recruits. Fat Gum's sidekick, the bizarre diet hero, chimed in to say that they've been flourishing for a while now. So, all three of them have stuck to the agencies they served during their time at UA. Since she's not designated as a sidekick, it seems like Nejire inherited Ryukyu's agency. And man, these guys look incredible. I didn't think Sun Eater could look any cooler than he already did. But this cowl is just perfect. Mirio's new hairstyle is very fitting. And he has the #1 as a part of his boots, so he'll need to guard that top spot fiercely if he wants to avoid changing his costume. Uraraka is currently the #24 hero. She assumed that the three already had a look at the records of the students at the school they're visiting. But even so, she wanted to stress the fact that communication is the most important thing here. Even children who seem like they're fine may actually be dealing with issues, whether big or small, many of which pertain to their home life. Very few children feel comfortable enough to immediately open up to adults they don't know. With a beaming smile and reassuring thumbs up, she insisted that over time, they'll definitely start to notice the signs. So they don't need to keep consulting the papers. On average, the turnaround time is about 1 month, but that can vary from case to case. She urged them to focus on making friends. The numbers don't matter. Sun Eater figured that it must be quite tiring for her to do this all the time. Uraraka's helpers filed out of their vehicles. She shrugged it off since she's supported by so many dedicated people that all play a part. In fact, Hawks, the current president of the Hero Public Safety Commission, often negotiates with the Ministry of Education. His request for aid that targets specific areas has done wonders for the improvement of quirked education, even if Mara seems to think his sales pitches sound a bit sketchy. Sun Eater was relieved to hear that, and figured that this means she must get some time to herself. Uraraka just looked at him without a response. Just then, a stampede of children began racing in their direction while calling out all of their hero names. Poor Sun Eater got the sidekick treatment as one of the kids simultaneously asked about Fat Gum. But considering his personality, he probably likes it that way. Lemillion happily greeted the kids. They all beckoned him to do his thing. The #1 hero leapt into a tree and suddenly made it bloom with ripe peaches, a sight that Nejire found to be very weird. Lemillion told them all to try picking them with their quirks. Apparently, projectile quirks are very common these days, as all the kids launched a volley of ranged attacks, all except for one. The timid child clutched onto his stomach as his classmates continued, but then he noticed someone by his side. It was Uraraka with a gentle smile and outstretched hand. Lemillion laughed triumphantly, claiming that all the peaches are his, and they'll just have to buy theirs at the grocery store. But with Uraraka's help, the shy child floated up and blasted Lemillion's cheeks with a miniature beam. The hero climbed out of the tree while claiming that the last person who managed to get one of his peaches was a villain called the Thieving Shogun a year ago. Uraraka released her quirk, and the other kids couldn't believe it was Oshima who managed to do it. Lemillion knelt down to the boy's side and held his shoulder. Then he announced that it's peach season, much to the delight of the little fanatics. Oshima flushed with pride and joy as his classmates cheered him on. From there, Uraraka admitted to Sun Eater that she does have quite a lot of work and responsibilities to tend to, especially since she's continuing a pre-existing project. So in turn, she's happy to be working with what she loves. And is it just me, or does this one kid talking to Oshima look like he could be Bakugo's son? Nejire pointed out that Sun Eater is the same way when it comes to the joy of others. Embarrassed, Tamaki decided to dig a hole for him to crawl into. Uraraka pointed out that Sue is always with her during work, and she can still see her other friends when they volunteer. So her me time is actually all the time. Froppy, the current number 34 hero, thought about that without chiming in. We're then taken to a moving train. Sue asked Uraraka if Toga has been showing up in her dreams again. Uraraka confirmed her suspicion. Apparently this started happening again a month ago. She knows that they involve Toga, but she can't exactly remember what happens in the dreams. Uraraka wondered if she might be under too much pressure without realizing it. She even went in for a checkup, but her doctor didn't find any issues and told her that she's probably just tired. Sue scolded her friend and told her that she should seek out a second opinion, that she shouldn't just accept everything people say and keep things to herself. Uraraka laughed while claiming that that's exactly what she's trying to do. And the doctor was Sue's idea. On a more serious note, Uraraka wondered if Toga might be trying to tell her something. On that day, Toga's blood saved her life. She died to do it. And by now, Toga's blood should be totally gone. But she has to wonder if it may have mixed with hers, causing Toga to live within her somehow. This concept is further supported by the reflection of Toga's hair behind hers on the train car windows. If so, it could be a situation similar to One for All. Sue leaned her head on her friend's shoulder. She placed more emphasis on Uraraka's need to remember what happened in those dreams of hers. Side note, Sue's new hairstyle is absolutely adorable. Elsewhere, Bakugo was complaining about having to give Deku a ride in his car, which the young teacher was very grateful for. Kirishima began unwrapping a snack in the passenger seat while pointing out that it was Bakugo's suggestion to begin with, since he's so proud of his new car. Deku was amazed by the sinking seats in the back. Bakugo retorted that it's because his hard-headed friend claimed that if he doesn't give them a ride, he'll scratch the hood of his car with his hardening. Kirishima questioned if the Great Dynamite is rattled by any threat. It's pretty surreal to see Bakugo behind the wheel. I can only imagine how terrible his road rage must be. Bakugo glanced over his shoulder to say that Deku doesn't even need a ride at this point. Since that's the case, he should have refused. Deku agreed, but was thankful since he managed to finish a report on the quirk training of his students. Kirishima turned to ask if any of Deku's students match his style. Bakugo, the ever-tidy, told the guy if he drops any crumbs in his car, he'll drop him on the side of the road. Deku asked Kirishima if he's looking for sidekicks. The current number 12 hero confirmed this. He's just begun his solo career. Fat Gum and Sun Eater are helping him out a ton. But the number 11 hero, who has a new costume, let him know that there are some things you can only find out when you're looking after other people. He also pointed out that Sun Eater is afraid of dealing with that. But Tamaki insisted that he just wants to keep helping Fat Gum. Deku took in his words. Kirishima scarfed down his snack and said that Ida and Momo are in a league of their own. A bunch of their friends kicked off their solo careers before him, and they're all so cool. But our boy Kirishima is clearly being humble here because he is one of the highest ranking heroes despite only just making his solo debut. And as we'll see, he's ranked higher than both of the peers he named. Deku happily considered how Bakugo got a bunch of sidekick applications, but in the end, they all ended up crying and giving up. The former number 4 and current number 15 hero angrily insisted that they drop the subject. Bakugo's poor attitude pushed his popularity way down. And although he's similar to Endeavor as a type to let his results speak for him, in such an era with far less crime, it's much harder to be a top hero with that alone. Kirishima mockingly mentioned how a ton of people were really impressed by his fight against All For One and signed up to be his sidekick with high hopes. Deku finished the statement by saying that Bakugo's bad manners crushed all their expectations from the interview alone. Bakugo decided to kick them both out now. But with a bit more composure, he said that if someone told him they wanted to surpass him, he would have accepted them on the spot. Which is very much like him. Deku smiled at that and looked down. There was one thing attached to Bakugo's car keys. The blood-stained All Might card from their childhood, now signed by the very same hero. Bakugo asked Deku if he'll continue teaching. Deku told him that he will. Apparently, he's been gathering data for the armor on the days he's not teaching, just like Eraserhead used to do back in the day. Other schools also invite him to give lectures and seminars, so he gets the chance to share his experience with younger heroes almost every day. The armor made him very happy, but considering his experiences with Shigaraki, his feelings haven't changed. Looking at his hand, Deku believes that he'd still enjoy being a teacher even if he still had one for all. He gets to do what he loves for a living, and now he can even return to being a hero with his friends. With a smile, he expresses gratitude to them once again. Bakugo processed his words. Kirishima shouted to Bakugo that Deku turned down his offer. Deku wondered what he was talking about. Kirishima let him know that Bakugo was inviting him to work at his agency. Deku was thrown off, but made it clear that he won't do it. Bakugo told him to shut up since he already got the message. Kirishima admitted that Deku's a bit slow when it comes to these sorts of things. Bakugo totally agrees. He knows he's probably not the best person to tell him this, but he thinks it's about time for Deku to start thinking about himself in a higher regard. Otherwise, he won't even notice things that are painfully obvious. Deku stuttered and threw the suggestion back since Bakugo is hardly one to talk. Bakugo gave him some sagely advice. Giving special treatment to everyone means that no one is really special to you. Deku sunk deeper in his seat, unsure of what that even means. Then Kirishima asked the most pressing question of all. Why the heck are Bakugo's backseats like that in the first place? We then arrive at our destination, a nice restaurant. Inside, the many former students of Class A raised a glass in honor of Shoto becoming the current number 2 hero. The air conditioning hero apologized for making them all gather for the occasion. Kaminari, the current number 44 hero, happily told him not to worry about it since that was just an excuse for them to get together. That ranking is also his first placement on the charts. Being the air conditioning hero is a hilarious title, but considering how beloved air conditioners are in Japan, along with the gentle touch he provides, it's quite fitting. But boy oh boy, Endeavor's genes have most definitely activated. Shoto meekly accepted Kaminari's words. The shocked taser hero was quick to clarify that he was just joking. Zero, the current number 36 hero, began calling out what Mr. 44 was saying to the new number 2. Kaminari begged him to stop. The turbo hero Ida, the current number 13 hero, was seated near the everything hero Momo, who is number 19, and Shoji, who is the current number 9 hero. Ida chimed in to say that any rise in the rankings is noteworthy. The criteria for the Billboard charts keeps becoming more and more complex and fragmented, so it shouldn't be taken at face value anymore. Kaminari and Sero both agreed that these guys were the noteworthy ones. Mineta, the fresh-picked hero, let them know that words can hurt. The number 108 hero, which is his first placement, told them to watch their mouths. Jiro, the hearing hero, is number 30 and told him that 108 is pretty fitting for him. Mina, the Ridley hero, currently holds the number 28 spot and told him to chill out. Koda, the petting hero, is one of Shoji's sidekicks. He thinks everyone with a solo career is pretty amazing. Shinso, the hypnosis hero Nighthide, is currently out of the rankings. He doesn't get why people crave the spotlight. The stealth hero Invisible Girl is number 39, and she doesn't get it either. This man Shinso really ran off with Eraserhead's whole flow. Sato, the sweet hero, is one of Wash's sidekicks. He thinks it's pretty crazy that all of them were able to get together tonight, and the previous time was only days ago. which is quite a difference from the final chapter. Ojiro, the martial hero and current number 32, has a Yamcha-like scar on his cheek. He claimed that this is thanks to the number of villains continuing to decrease year after year. Tokoyami, the dark hero and current number 17, accepted that although they'll never disappear, at the very least, villains will lose strength. Oyama, the shining hero, is one of Invisible Girl's sidekicks and agrees. Between Koda and him, although I totally get their compatibility and desire to work together, being a sidekick to a former classmate is kinda crazy. Traditionally, the sidekick role is reserved for children, but of course that is not the case in My Hero Academia. I just feel like being partners would be a far more respectable position for them. Sue works with Uraraka every day, and they discover their compatibility while working under Ryukyu together. But Sue is not her sidekick. From there, we get to see many of the other top heroes that kept fighting after that day. Miruko is the current number 6 and looks so good it should be a crime. Best Jeanist is the number 5 hero and somehow looks better than ever despite being laced up like a pair of Jordans. Gang Orca is the number 21 hero and looks like a fierce veteran. That boy Kamui Woods is the number 4 hero and looks like he deserves his own comic series. Mount Lady is the number 3 hero, looks great, totally deserves it, and I couldn't be more proud. The design of her mask has even changed to honor her late friend, Midnight. Wash still holds the number 8 spot, and I'm sure he's still a hit with the kids now that he looks more like an astronaut version of Marvin the Martian. Death Arms is the number 42 hero, Ryukyu is the number 40 hero, and Present Mike is the number 45 hero. Yoshindo is the number 20 hero, joined by his friends from Ketsubutsu. Juzo is number 14, Kendo is number 23, and that boy Monoma is everything I knew he would be at the big number 10 spot. Tetsu is number 26, Tetsuna is number 22, and Manga is number 33. Inasa is number 16, Keimi isn't ranked, and Seiji is number 41. Tokoyami believes that now it's their turn, and at the end of their road, they won't be needed anymore. That heroes are slowly on their way towards extinction. Deku paid attention to his words. Suddenly, Tokoyami began complaining about hating an advertising company that wants to make him even more fabulous, while he claims to be darkness itself. Ojiro had to make sure that his friend's drink was alcohol-free. Shoto took a seat next to Deku while agreeing with Tokoyami's words. Deku feels the same way. Shoto decided to say something that plenty of people have said to him lately. Bakugo asked if the guy was about to brag. Shoto thought about it and admitted that he might be. They say that he fought against a cruel fate and fulfilled his duty. Shoto admits that he hesitated and made plenty of mistakes along the way, but he still doesn't doubt that he made the right choices. But even so, in regards to duty and destiny, if they really are part of a far larger story, he feels like wanting to keep fighting and get to where he is now was an inevitability, which is why he's charting off course to take bowl and chopstick making classes in Ishikawa, a declaration that totally caught Bakugo and Deku off guard. The number 2 hero figures that soba, he and his late brother's favorite food, would taste even better if he eats it with stuff he's made himself. Bakugo figured that since it's in Ishikawa, it must be the Wajima style. Shoto told them that he'll be doing both the Wajima and Yamanaka styles in a private class. While he was praying at Toya's altar, he came to a realization. He smiled while claiming that he's always enjoyed eating. Wanting to become a hero isn't all he's about. Bakugo pointed out that Mr. 2 must have plenty of free time on his hands. Shoto laughed while saying that now he has time to spare in his heart. Bakugo's response that he must have been reading Parasite, which is crazy. Mentioning my all-time favorite series? Oh Horikoshi, this is already a 10 out of 10 chapter, you didn't need to make it even better. Deku really took Shoto's words to heart. Just then, all of the guys were alerted by a sudden exclamation. Kurohiro and Kanoko are dating! He finally got the girl. Invisible Girl was telling Mina all about it. Mina was overjoyed. She said that she was on a mission with them recently and there weren't any signs. With that being the topic, Sero pointed out 2 of his friends and asked what's up with them. After all, Kaminari and Jiro had their hero agencies right next to each other. They both blinked in surprise. Jiro laughed uproariously while leaning on Momo. She let him know that he's got it all wrong. Kaminari admitted that he was really worried about opening up an agency of his own. So, when he learned that the building next to Jiro's was available, he did not hesitate to grab it. So, Jiro and Kaminari are not an item. But I'ma tell you right now, since Horikoshi can't. She is probably with Momo. I for one have not forgotten that exhibition artwork. Sero told them that they're the worst. Although, the situation totally reminds Kaminari of how they sat next to each other during their first year at UA. Jiro admitted that it makes her feel at ease. Bakugo had no interest in their nonsense. Deku continued to think about Shoto's words. Then he thought about his own words in the car. Then he remembered what Shigaraki told him at the very end, to make sure he does his damn best. Then he turned elsewhere while thinking about a him that he still has yet to discover. He was looking at Uraraka. She opened her eyes and his went wide. Suddenly, he was struck by a major revelation of his own. But that was interrupted by a loud beep. All the assembled heroes sprang into action. A stolen car was being chased on Gareki Street in the 2nd South District. The culprit's quirk was causing a lot of damage, and the situation wasn't looking good. Sero smiled while saying that this is why they can't drink. Together, the professional heroes all launched off after the vehicle with an absolutely dazzling full-page spread. That poor criminal is over here getting the all-for-one special. This is like Batman busting kneecaps and calling the Justice League over stolen gum. Soon, the truck was taken off the road by several tons of ice. As a slobbering dog cop who may or may not be related to the chief of police pulled him away, the man responsible claimed that it was a sudden impulse. Bakugo told Deku that he got here first, but Deku insisted that it was Ida. The Turbo Hero told them to stop bickering. Ida mechanically removed his costume while saying that if it was a sudden impulse as he claims, then the man must not be evil. He's glad there were no victims. Hiroshima claimed that they won't be losing their jobs anytime soon. Despite his earlier comments, Tokoyami totally agrees. Although it was cut short, they decided to call it a night. However, the decision wasn't totally unanimous, but they promised to get together again soon. Shoto let them know that he already paid the bill, so they don't have to worry about going to the restaurant. Mina was dismayed since it was meant to be a celebration for him, so they'll split the price instead. Momo and Jiro, who are never far from each other, took out their wallets. Shoto remarked that physical cash is still pretty useful. Momo agreed and said that it's especially the case with emergencies. Bakugo and Deku parted ways. Bakugo has to wake up early tomorrow since Edgeshot is returning to Japan. Deku thanked him for the ride. Meanwhile, plenty of others wanted to check out his car too. As the rest of them trotted off, Bakugo bid his childhood friend farewell. Deku did the same and told him to come as a guest teacher more often. Eraserhead is preparing a class on communication. Bakugo resented the idea of being used as a bad example. Deku just laughed at that and walked elsewhere. He did so while thinking about what Bakugo said about special treatment. Uraraka and Sue both said their goodbyes to each other. Alone, Uraraka thought about tomorrow being yet another busy day of work. She also thought about how she and Deku sat so far away from each other that she wasn't even able to talk to him. She told herself that it's fine since they see each other often due to work. Then she stopped. She remembered how he said she's his hero after that day. They discovered what they wanted and what they wanted to do with their lives. They respected each other's choices and kept smiling together. It's more than she could reasonably ask for. Then she remembered what she said to her friends in the past when they realized that she always has the charm Deku gave her for Christmas. Suddenly, she swiveled around. She remembered telling Toga that she's in love with Deku. Uraraka considered the fact that she truly wants to talk to him a bit more. And that's when Deku came rushing in her direction. He had a big smile and was relieved that he managed to catch up to her. Just then, Uraraka began to remember her dream. Toga called out to her. There was a glint in Uraraka's eyes when she saw him. Toga told her that it's fine. Deku confessed that he respects and loves all of his friends, and that all of them are special. He always thought it was as simple as that, even back at UA. But today, he really wanted to talk to Uraraka more. But not just today. He wants to talk to her more from now on too. In the dream, Toga told her that she managed to live exactly how she wanted to. And because she loves Uraraka so much, Her wish is for her to live exactly like she wants to too. Something in Uraraka's body flung her forward. She got close to Deku before he could complete his sentence. The heat kept rushing to her face. It's been a month since Deku got his new suit, and she's been able to see him more often. Deku wondered what her response to his words might be. She kept blushing and fidgeting with her hair. In the dream, she looked back at Toga, who gave her the push she needed, and agreed. With tears in the corner of her eyes, she smiled at Deku, reached out, and told him that they were thinking the same thing. He reached out to her too. Then they held hands. The end. Now that is what I'm talking about. Oh boy, oh boy. The amount of complaints I got when I pointed out how much was missing in the final chapter of this story. But would you believe it? Aside from Deku's dad, it seems like Horikoshi agreed with me down to the tiniest of details. Aside from this extra chapter, there were several revisions to the final chapter as well. I even mentioned how strange it is that Ida had his mask on for it, and Horikoshi took that sucker right off for the volume release. This right here is how you properly end a series. Shout out to the GOAT for the patch notes. Honestly, this final volume only further solidifies my belief that they need to do away with the practice of weekly chapter releases. This isn't Garfield or the Peanuts. These mangaka need more time to cook. I know I should probably want more frequent chapters for the sake of content or whatever, but I think it should be a no-brainer that the craft itself is infinitely more important than any subsequent coverage of it. Just about every creator behind a long-running weekly series has submitted an extra short chapter or one with a bunch of scribbles and sketches over the course of their serialization. Bi-weekly is the way to go. You get better art, better stories, less stress, and less health concerns. But I'm probably just preaching to the choir here since we don't really have any say in the matter. But I will say that Horikoshi with prep time is unstoppable. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.